Aloha and welcome to another real estate market report for February 2021 here in the Portland metro area. My name is Scott McMahon and this is just an extension of my show Around the Neighborhood at aroundtheneighborhood.tv. It is March, but we can only see past month's results, which is why we have to report to you what happened in February. And with that said, let's get started. If we look at all the major western cities, we'll start with Seattle, which has a median home price of $710,000, which is a 9.2% increase from last year. And if we travel down south to Portland, we see that the median home price is $520,000 with a 22.4% increase. And then going into California, we stop at San Francisco, which has a median home price of $1,351,000, which is a 4.7% decrease from last year. Heading into Southern California, we stop at Los Angeles, which has a median home price of $845,000 with a 12.8% increase from last year. And finally, we end up in San Diego, which has a median home price of $705,000 with an 11% increase from last year. And if we zoom into the Portland metro area, which includes neighborhoods all around the city of Portland, including Portland, we see that the average price went from $460,200 to $528,500, which was a 14.8% increase, while the median home price went from $407,500 to $470,000, which was a 15.3% increase. And the housing inventory is set at 1 month, which essentially means that if there's no more homes that come onto the market, all of the available inventory will be gone in 1 month. And a healthy market is usually 6 months, so it's fair for the buyer and seller. And so anything that's less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. And so when you're dealing with an inventory of 1 month or less, it is an insanely hot seller's market. And that's where we're at right now. As you can see from all the major West Coast cities, Portland is still the most affordable with the median home price just over $500,000. And with a 22% increase from over last year, things are just getting insanely hot in this area. A lot of people have been wondering whether or not the market is going to stay this hot or they're predicting a crash of some sort. Just like those who survived the housing crash in 2008, they're wondering with all the stuff that's going on in the pandemic, with all this money being forced into the marketplace, with the government's help, will this eventually have some sort of ramification, a correction, or a crash? And you'll see a lot of maybe reports or headlines about a possible stock market crash or a housing market crash. If we take a snapshot of the stock market, especially the Dow Jones Industrial Average, over a course of over 100 years, you obviously see that the Great Depression after 1929, when the market crashed, and then we went through World War II, and then it had an increase after World War II, but then it dipped again in the 1970s. And then there was the 1987 crash. And then there was a gigantic tech boom in the early 2000s. And that had a tech crash. And then there was a housing boom, and that caused the Great Recession. And today we have this massive expansion, which many people believe that there's got to be some sort of correction coming. Whether or not it's going to be a crash or not, it remains to be seen. One thing the experts are pointing to is that it looks like we're experiencing a K recovery, which means that there are people that are profiting and doing very well in this economy, especially people in the technology, retail, and software services. And we say retail, we mean like online retail. And the ones that are suffering that need assistance are the travel industry, the entertainment industry, hospitality, and food services. Which is really no surprise to anyone who's been going through this pandemic and wondering, what's happening. Now, in terms of the housing market, we are definitely just seeing the case of supply and demand. There's just no supply and a really big high demand for, very little supply that's on the market. And the people that are in the market to look and to buy a home, they're fully vetted. So it's not like in 2008 where they were just giving away loans left and right without vetting these people. So the people that are vetted, the people that are in the marketplace are strong buyers. And so they have a strong, buying pool, a strong, demand for the housing, and it's just not available. So we should see prices still staying high. There might be a time where buyers say enough with this. We might see a correction, but there's a low probability that there will be a crash of something similar to 2008 in terms of the housing sector. There could be another type of crash in other industries, and how that affects housing remains to be seen. Now, fully candid here, we had sold our house last November to cash out, to sell high and hold on to the cash and see where we're going to go next. We actually didn't have any idea. With our daughter going away to college, my wife and I were empty nesters, and we felt like we could downsize. We felt like we could go anywhere, but a lot of careful, analysis and weighing out our options, we decided to stay in the Portland metro area. And just as we decided to stay in the Portland metro area, we happened to be renting this particular house, and we, signed a 1-year lease because we thought we needed a year to kind of just sit back and see what was going to happen to the housing market. I was expecting there might be some market correction, and personally, I didn't want to go into the market as a buyer for where we were, just knowing how crazy it was. I wanted to see some normalcy if there was going to ever be one. Well, there's a saying we have at our house, which is everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, and we stole that from Mike Tyson. And that just means like every time we plan something comes up that shifts our expectations, and we have to pivot and we have to just adjust. Well, the landlords and the sellers, the owners of this house, came up with some emergency that they needed to sell. And so once we got a better understanding what they were going through, we're like, okay, how do we get out of this to help them? And I was lucky enough to list this house. So this house is going on the market here shortly, soon. I'm going to be able to help them out. But where we go, and I was thinking, I have no idea. We're going to be jumping into this really, really competitive market. And so, after looking at the low inventory, not seeing a lot out there, just take a good night, rest, sleep. The next morning, something came up on the market right away. And I told my wife, we have got to see this house like ASAP. We have to squeeze in a time to see it as soon as possible. We went over there, checked it out. It checked off a lot of the boxes that we were hoping for. And then I, called the listing agent and tried to build a rapport with her to find out what else we could offer to make it easier for the sellers. And lo and behold, we were one of like 6 offers that came in, but we won the house. So we'll be moving into another house in a couple months, which means this adorable tiki bar will have to be moved and shifted. So currently it's in a outside shed in the backyard that was used as like an extra workspace, and I just turned it into a tiki bar / surf storage room. So the joy of having this just means I have to transport all my decor to the new house, and we're deciding on how we're going to construct the new tiki bar at that new house. And so that's going to be exciting. I keep telling my wife, like, well, yeah, let's make it 2 stories, 3 stories. And she's like, what? Anyway, so you'll see it. I might not have the tiki bar in place for the next market report, but you'll hopefully stick with me on my journey as I build the Scoots Tiki Bar 2.0. In the meantime, if you've seen the other marketing reports that I've done, I always end the show with a little tiki drink. And since it's a very, very rainy day, and there's something to be said about people bundling up against the fireplace, drinking a cup of coffee, reading a book when it rains up here in Portland, well, I'm going to go, not opposite, but I'm going to do a little tiki coffee drink with some Kahlua. We got to add that. That's like a mainstay. So if you're done here, you got your market report, and if you have any questions about buying or selling a home, or if you're looking to buy a home in this competitive market, let me know. There are some strategies and tips and tricks of how to win a house. Like I said, we went right into it, and I think the unfair advantage was that I was a real estate agent buying my own personal home, so I was able to take some very educated, calculated risks in order to win the house, win the offer, where I think some of the other candidates that were looking to get the house may have not felt comfortable, or the other agents working with them may have not felt comfortable enough taking those risks. And unfortunately, that's the market we're in right now. There's also maybe a possibility to wait. But if you're at that place and you're kind of timing it, nobody can really time the market. Sometimes you just got to go when you got to go. And that's what happened to us. We didn't plan to move and buy a home so quickly, but things happen. So with that said, all my contact information is below. And thanks for watching this far. And if those who want to stay and see me put together this new drink, it's called the Geordi, after Star Trek The Next Generation, the character Geordi. But it's actually based on a classic drink from San Diego called the Mr. Bali High, which includes the Kahlua coffee drink. All right, I'll see you in the Tiki Drinks section. Bye. So I've got my Geordi Tiki mug here. And so in my little bar, in Scoot's Tiki Bar, I created a menu and we call it the Geordi. And it's just it's based on the Mr. Bali High. I tend to add a little bit more of Kahlua coffee in it, just so you can really taste the coffee more so than the Mr. Bali High ingredients. So let's get started. It involves 1.5 ounces of pineapple juice. Jeez, Tiki drinks are messy. I tend to spill like just fruit juices everywhere and things just get sticky. Okay, then we need an ounce of lemon juice, freshly squeezed. Then it calls for 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Then it's supposed to be 3/4 ounces of the Kahlua coffee liqueur, but since I modify a little bit, I put a full ounce in. Then it calls for 1 ounce of light rum and then 1.5 ounces of dark Jamaican rum. So that's about 2.5 ounces of rum going into this drink. Usually 2 ounces is a pretty good, Tiki drink. Anytime you get above 2 ounces, go 3-4 ounces, it'll knock you, off your feet. That's for sure. And since I've got some Kahlua in it already, I think I might just do 1 ounce of light rum and 1 ounce of dark rum. So we're going to use Myers light rum, and we'll do that 1 ounce of that. And then we'll top it off with 1 ounce of Myers dark rum. Add some ice, put it in the tin, and we shake it up. Okay, pour it in Geordi, pour it in his head. So we got the straw, some ice on it, but then I like to top it off with a little nutmeg. And there you have it, the Geordi, aka the Mr. Bali High. And it's a cold, rainy day here in Portland, although the sun just came out. So if you've ever been living in Portland, in Oregon, springtime is the most schizophrenic weather you'll ever see. You can literally be dumped on by rain and blinded by sunlight at the same time. So here's to the Geordi here at Scoot's Tiki Bar. Oh yeah, that's good. One of my favorites. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, if you want to chat, just reach out to me. Love you guys. Bye.